Good morning. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Maria Robinson.
And I'm Tori Goodwin. Here are some of the stories we're following for you this morning from the On the Record newsroom. It was announced on Monday that the Ontario government will be taking control over the Don Valley Parkway and the Gardiner Express from the City of Toronto. As a part of this deal, Toronto has agreed for the province to have authority on projects for Ontario Place, a move coming on the heels of the province's plans for redevelopment, such as the construction of a private spa, a proposal that sparked major controversy across Toronto.
Toronto is the 64th most livable city in Canada, according to a list released by the Globe and Mail last weekend. While Toronto earned points for its access to amenities and education, placing 10th in both categories, it failed to break the top 100 for housing affordability or safety. Placing first overall was Victoria, BC, with its access to nature and mild climate.
There has been a salmonella outbreak in 5 provinces recently, which has been linked to cantaloupes. As of November 24th, Canada has confirmed 63 cases in the country. The Canadian Food Inspection Agency has issued food recall warnings for some cantaloupes, which so far have been linked to the brands Malachita and Rudy. The CFIA is continuing its food safety investigation.
Canada's life expectancy lowered for the 3rd year in a row, according to a recent report from Statistics Canada. The report analyzed deaths in 2022 and found that the average Canadian's life expectancy dropped to 81.3 years, down from 81.6 in 2021. Although one of the major reasons for the consistent decline was the pandemic, the opioid crisis and the country's aging population also played a role.
It's been a big semester here at OTR, and we've covered stories from school pride to international issues. Let's go now to Chloe Herbert-Ballantyne and Kaylin Monkman, who will take us through a look back of their favorite stories from our newsroom this fall.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Kaylin Monkman.
And I'm Chloe Herbert-Ballantyne. As we wrap up the semester, today we're going to take a look back at some of the standout stories from the term.
It's been quite the semester here at OTR. From the unveiling of TMU's brand new mascot to events happening worldwide, our newsroom's been working tirelessly to cover the stories that our audience cares about the most.
So without further ado, we're pleased to bring you along as we reminisce on some of our favorite stories produced in the OTR newsroom.
First off, let's start with a story that's on everyone's mind these days. It's making global headlines, but of course is having a huge impact here at home on TMU's own campus, the Israel-Palestine conflict.
Absolutely, and one, like you said, we've seen reactions on TMU's campus. One that comes first to mind is about a law school letter that sparked controversy on campus as well as internationally.
We saw an article written by OTR's very own Maria Postelniak talking about how the response to that was, of course, quite severe at first. The letter has now been taken down, and Sheila Reid, another one of our fantastic reporters, wrote a kind of follow-up article on that, talking about how now the school's appointed a former Canadian Chief Justice to investigate the matter.
Yes, and the law school is also mentioned in a lawsuit, I believe, that you covered. Do you want to speak more on that?
Yeah, for sure. As you said, there's been, I think, 5 articles in total we've written this term. So, and the lawsuit was a big one. The school is being sued for $15 million, or I should say the school and the student union are being sued. And that was quite an undertaking to cover for me, because I'm not a judicial or law reporter at all. So it involved going through the lawsuit and seeing exactly what it alleged. Allegations date back to as far as 2014, as far as anti-Semitism on campus. But obviously the topic itself is quite serious, but it was somewhat fun to kind of cut my teeth on that and kind of get into that more serious judicial side of reporting.
Absolutely, and I'm sure the lawsuit will continue to develop, as well as the investigation into the letter. And I'm sure our OTR Winter masthead will be there to report on it as well.
Absolutely, we're going to see more broadcasts and articles about that for sure.
And speaking of broadcasts, why don't we talk now about one of our favorite broadcasts of the term, one produced by Lauren Badagello, about Doug Ford's controversial decision to develop Ontario Place into a spa.
So we've seen a kind of a continuation of this all semester, but this all started when Lauren was covering a protest back in October. There's a lot of people, a lot of Doug Ford's critics, who have been upset by the decision to kind of develop a private spa on Ontario Place, which is kind of intended to be public property. And she went out at a protest that was happening back in October and interviewed some people on their thoughts on the matter. And it was a really interesting broadcast. And I even believe we've got a clip of it now that we can show our viewers.
A protest hosted by the group Ontario Place for All garnered around 60 participants on Tuesday, protesting the building of Therme Canada, a large spa facility set to go at Ontario Place. In April of this year, the Ford government signed a 95-year-long lease with developers, and the outcry since has been significant.
People don't want to live in Toronto anymore if this goes through. This is a rip-off of public space. Privatizing public space. Everything about this process has been opaque, mysterious.
Nice work, Lauren. Now let's move on to our third and final pick, a story covered again by OTR's Maria Postelniak about how students are choosing to upcycle their old Ryerson merch.
So this article was really interesting to me because I've got a former Ryerson journalism hoodie that I don't really wear anymore. It's just collecting dust in my closet, I think. So it was interesting to see how TMU had tried to do this upcycled merchandise program. It kind of didn't succeed, and now there's a lot of students who are actually still wearing Ryerson branded clothing because they don't want to buy new clothes or they like the old designs better.
But as Maria reported, there's also some students who don't really feel comfortable wearing a name with such a negative connotation and have chosen to take in a more creative route in upcycling the hoodies themselves. I'm interested to know, did you gain any inspiration from those students?
Not really personally. I don't have a lot of sewing skills when it comes to that, but it was interesting to see how a lot of students are kind of creatively upcycling that clothing and merchandise and kind of reclaiming that merch that they already have.
Yeah, and I guess there you have it. That brings us to the end of our semester in review. It's been a whirlwind of a semester, and it's been our pleasure to keep you informed throughout it all.
And of course, for more details on all the stories we've discussed today, and to just read more great journalism we've produced all semester long, be sure to check out our website, ontherecordnews.ca. Thank you so much for tuning into our semester in review. I'm Kaylin Monkman.
And I'm Chloe Herbert-Ballantyne. Now back to our anchors in the studio.
Athletes took on the media last week in a charity basketball game, and the PWHL is ready to drop the puck. Here's more from Drew-Ann Glennie with your sports news of the week.
I'm Drew-Ann Glennie, and here's the latest on sports. Last Saturday saw a surprise victory in the Sport vs. Media charity basketball game at the MAC, with Team Media beating Team Sport 67-64 in overtime. Team Sport's athletes had backgrounds in basketball, track and field, hockey, and soccer. Team Media's roster was recruited from The Gist, Sportsnet, The Athletic, The Toronto Star, CBC, and more. Before the game began, NBL Canada player Alex Superman Johnson was traded from Team Sport and from his wife, NCAA basketball veteran Bray Johnson. Executive producer Casey Dobson credited the trade for allowing media to keep up, but gave full credit to them as a team for rallying and getting the job done. Alex Johnson led Team Media with 17 points, including a hat trick of three-pointers. Bray Johnson edged out her husband in the scoring race with 21 points. She and University of Toronto track and fielder Cameron Bruce combined scored over half of Team Sport's total points. The game raised over $3,700 for the MLSC Foundation, which invests in providing equitable access to sport for kids and community across Canada. It was organized by TMU students as part of their sports media practicum. While TMU Bold hockey player Kyle Bowlers netted 6 points for Team Sports in Saturday's charity game, his claim to fame this week was scoring a Michigan goal in the Bolds' loss against the Brock Badgers on Friday. A Michigan is one of hockey's hardest moves, seeing a player scoop the puck on the blade of their stick while rounding the net to toss it over the goalie's shoulder. While it is taking the NHL by storm, only a handful have succeeded at netting one in-game. It was announced this week that PWHL Toronto will be ringing in the new year against New York in Max Arena. Not only is this Toronto's home opener, but it will be the first ever PWHL regular season game. As we wait for the puck to drop, keep an eye on your favorite team. Yesterday marked the beginning of the waiver period after training camp rosters were reduced to 27 players. Other teams may contact cut players with the intent of offering them a contract. That's it for sports. I'm Drew and Glennie. Back to you in the studio.
Jenny from the block, Scream Queens, and holiday chart toppers. Sheila Reed has it all with your entertainment update.
I'm Sheila Reed. Here's what everyone's talking about this week in entertainment. Jennifer Lopez announced the release of her new album, This Is Me Now. Her first studio album in almost a decade is set to drop February 16th of next year and will be accompanied by a film based on the album. This is the latest in a lucrative trend of singers turning music into cinema, joining pop stars like Beyonce and Taylor Swift. However, J.Lo might have an edge. Her Oscar-winning husband, Ben Affleck, co-wrote the project. The Scream movie franchise has few survivors after the exit of actors Jenna Ortega and Melissa Barrera last week. In a statement to Variety, the film's production studio Spyglass Media said Barrera was fired for referring to Israel's attacks on Palestine as genocide. This was quickly followed by an announcement that Ortega would not be returning for the 7th installment of the franchise. While some industry publications claim this is due to a scheduling conflict with the second season of Ortega's hit Netflix show Wednesday, fans are speculating whether the Scream Queen quit in solidarity with Barrera. And finally, it's that time of year again. Just days after American Thanksgiving, Mariah Carey's hit holiday single, All I Want for Christmas Is You, tops Billboard's holiday charts. The 1994 Christmas song has been a gift for the pop star, reaching the Billboard Hot 100 every holiday season since 2019. Will she do it again this year? That's it for entertainment. I'm Sheila Reed. Back to you in the studio.
Winter is here in the GTA, and it's time to bundle up. Here's Zoe Karajanis with your next week in weather.
Good morning, TMU. I'm Zoe Karajanis, and welcome to On the Record Weather. Let's take a look at what you can expect today. In Toronto, we see some mixed precipitation of rain and snow with a high of 4 degrees and a low of -2 tonight. So do your best to stay warm and dry today. Surrounding cities of Oshawa, Brampton, Mississauga, and Hamilton will also sit at 4 degrees, while St. Catharines will see a high of 5 degrees. Further north, Barrie will reach a high of 2 degrees, Newmarket will hit 3 degrees, and in Peterborough, it will also be 4 degrees. Over this way, Guelph and Kitchener sit at lower temperatures of 2 degrees. Now, let's look ahead to Toronto's 5-day forecast. We'll cool down a bit tomorrow with a high of 2 degrees and a low of 0. But we do see a bit of sun peeking through before the rain comes in on Sunday, where we've got a low of 2 with a high of 4. We'll also see a high of 4 degrees on Monday with a low of 0. Tuesday has weather similar to today, with mixed snow and rain with a high of 3 and a low of -1. By Wednesday, we'll see the sun again with a mix of sun and clouds, where it'll hit a high of 1 degrees and a low of -2. I'm Zoe Karajanis with your On the Record weather. Back to you in the studio.
That's all for On the Record this December 1st, 2023. I'm Tori Goodwin.
And I'm Maria Robinson. Let's say hello to some of the many faces that brought you On the Record news this term. They're in the control room. Hello!
Congratulations, everyone. We did it. On behalf of the entire team, including many you don't see here, have a fantastic holiday break.
We'll be back in January. Have a happy holidays.